Welcome to another episode of STO Nation, a production of Park Media. Before I introduce today's guest, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share, and leave a 5-star review. And if you find this podcast useful in any way and want to pay us the ultimate compliment, head on over to our Patreon page where you can subscribe to be a Classic, Stealth, or Beast Mode subscriber. Welcome back to a special episode of STO Nation. This episode is all about the 2022 announcement that Storyteller did on July 4th. And the fun part was that I was able to fly out to HQ to hang out and get to meet everyone behind the scenes. Unfortunately, Jeffrey Hunter, the CEO, couldn't make it, but Lee Conn, the president and COO, and Andrew Cooley, the CRO, were able to sit down with me to do a deep dive into the new 2022s. I will say up front that they wouldn't go into the new features, but they are working diligently to get everything packaged to present to everyone this September and even have the new Mode LT at the Overland Expo this September in Flagstaff, Arizona for all to see. They did, however, address the concerns of why they didn't release the new feature set on July 4th, and they also did a deeper dive into the Ford chassis, addressed supply chain issues, and even confirmed some new features on the Mercedes chassis. Additionally, they answered listeners' questions, how they're planning to manage the growing demands when it comes to servicing all the new modes, and what motivates everyone at HQ to produce the quality RV that we're all accustomed to. And lastly, I just wanted to tell you guys my personal observations that I saw during the time at HQ. And really one word comes to mind, and that's passion. I can tell you that every person from the top down that works there has passion to do what they do. That passion stems a multitude of angles, from design to listening to their customers, to the individual being proud to put their name on what they've built on the assembly line, and even down to figuring out how to help build the community stronger. There is no lack of passion, commitment, or dedication. The only thing lacking might be a lack of sleep. But with everything that I saw, I can tell you firsthand that everyone, and I mean everyone, is working as hard as they can to make sure that you get your vans in the quickest time possible without sacrificing the quality while continually dealing with unforeseen issues. So with that, I hope this episode, along with Jeffrey's address in the Facebook group, will help answer some of your questions and help ease your concern about the new feature set that they will release in a couple of months. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. Welcome to STO Nation, Andrew and Lee. Thank you for coming on. And unfortunately, Jeffrey couldn't make it, but he's busy, as we all know, but that's okay. We have you two wonderful people. And I really wanted to sit you guys down and talk about the new 2022s coming out. And at first, there seemed to be a lot of discontent in regards to the release of information, and people didn't understand why, you released the new Ford chassis and the new pricing, but didn't release the new features of the 2022. And I know Jeffrey put, a long explanation in the Facebook group later on that evening, which really, really helped. But I also think it would really help to hear from you guys, the leadership of Storyteller, from your own mouths and whatnot. And then we'll go into, asking questions from the community about, the new chassis and whatnot. And I understand, I will preface this entire podcast in saying that I understand that you guys can't say a whole lot about the new features, so I'll limit my questions in regards to that. But anyways, but yeah, so let's just talk about the elephant in the room. And what's your guys' take on the Storyteller side in regards to holding the new 2022 features confidential?
Lee, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, I don't think there's any super big controversy about it. I think we released, 70 or 80 different features that will come on it, which is the 95% of it. So there's no hide the peanut or, any amazing revelations that are going to be happening later. The Mode LT is going to be extremely similar to the Mode 4x4 Classic, the Beast Mode, and the Stealth Mode. So if you squint your eyes, it's going to be the same vehicle inside and out, except it's on a different chassis. So there's not any, huge revelations coming around that everybody's going to be, completely surprised or taken aback or disappointed about, anything like
There's
that.
no like laser beams that will shoot bad drivers in front of you.
Right.
What?
No smoke screen, no oil slick, none
Dang
of
it.
that. I know. Maybe next year. But I think from a high level, we're just we're more focused on telling what we've done than what we're going to do. So there's a couple of last minute features that we're developing, and we're hoping that we'll be able to get into this product release. And it's always better from our standpoint just to really be clear about what is guaranteed, locked in, that will come on the vans. And I think, there was 2-3 pages worth of specs that we released, and we can talk through any of those things. But I think it's better for us just to absolutely make sure before we say anything that's not guaranteed yet. So
Right.
there's some exciting stuff.
Why
on
would
there.
why would it not be guaranteed?
Well, vehicle development is long and complicated processes that take many, many years, and you work as hard as you can. Like, let's say you were writing a book, you may try to get in 20 chapters, but you might only end up getting in 19 because there's deadlines and there's other factors that are working against you. So the vehicle is going to be packed full of awesomeness, and we're so thrilled to bring it out and show it. But I think, we're thrilled with the response that we've gotten, which has been almost overwhelming, and those vehicles will be sold out at some point, hopefully in the not too distant future, for quite a ways off. So I think the community has responded with placing orders for those vehicles, and the dealers want as many as we can build them. So the spec sheet that we provided, I think, is pretty compelling. And if there's a little bit of, in Louisiana they call it lagniappe, right? There's a little bit of gravy, there's a little bit of extra on top. Nobody's going to be disappointed, but I think so far we're pretty happy with it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say, anything that we do here at Storyteller, just to add to that, is first class. We try to be the absolute best in anything that we do. And we want to present ourselves in a way that our Storyteller customers deem worthy of seeing. And so, I think another big reason why there's not a full release of feature set is there's no way to have interior shots of the vehicle right now because we don't have the new chassis yet. And so it is, everyone knows that now, right? From Jeffrey's post. And so, we're not going, just like Lee said, we're only going to deal with facts and present ourselves as being open and honest, transparently and truthful. And so when you don't have the ability to, hey, this feature is confidential because we can't show you how it functions, which only leads to more questions about a certain feature, because there's not an interior shot yet. There's no way for us to convey that message with any type of confidence to the consumer other than stay tuned. And another really great thing about Storyteller is we don't just want your Storyteller to be worth every dollar that you pay for it. We want it to be worth every penny of every dollar. And so we take any kind of price increases here. We actually try to talk about, is there any way we can push the price downward? And there's not. There's just no way. And so any time that there's a price increase with anything, it's going to be worth not just every dollar, but every penny of that dollar.
Okay. A couple questions from that. The first one is there's a lot of concern with the Mercedes chassis shortage, just overall. Are you guys going to have issues getting those new chassis in since you don't have them yet?
We don't anticipate having any problems.
Okay.
We've never had a chassis shortage from a Mercedes standpoint, and so far that does not appear to be the case.
Okay.
We have a tremendous relationship with Mercedes-Benz, and we deal directly with the second largest Sprinter dealer in the world is who we get our chassis from. And so we're also Mercedes-Benz master outfitters. Even though we're not Globocon, we're not a small custom shop either. And so this year coming up, we'll receive the second most, and it's very humbling for us at Storyteller to say this out loud, but we will receive the second most 144 high roof 4x4 2500 Sprinter chassis in the world behind Winnebago, which is crazy because we're just a little old Storyteller.
Mm-hmm. So there's people out there that have ordered the Stealth, or they're looking at the Stealth for 2022, right? And there's a 12,000 price increase from the Classic to the Stealth, and because of what we had just talked about, that you don't want to release anything yet because it's not releasable yet. What would you tell those guys that are on the fence of whether or not they should spend that extra $12,000? Because honestly, they don't really know exactly what they're going to get yet. So what would you tell a customer in regards to that situation?
I mean, from a high level, what I would say is exactly what Jeffrey said, was that Storyteller has never had a price increase. We're 2.5 years of production. We've never increased prices at all, but our internal prices have gone up like unbelievably. You wouldn't, I think you'd be surprised at some of the calls that we get on a daily and weekly basis about prices just going up, with be it shipping, all the supply chain. Everybody's watched the news and has a good understanding of that. So the prices of that vehicle have gone up a little bit. We're adding a few little pieces to the pie as well that we'll talk more about later. I guess I would just tell people, if you want a Storyteller and you want a stealth mode, just be patient. The vehicle's going to be unbelievable, and it would be probably wise to keep their deposits in, and more will be revealed. But again, there's not going to be any miraculous, like, again, we're not turning it into a hovercraft, or
Right.
it's just not going to be a rocket ship, but it's just going to be an incredibly well built freedom machine, and they're going to be able to go and do the things that they can imagine and dream of always wanting to do.
Yeah. So there's going to be more features other than just basically blacking out the emblems and, from the 21 Stealth, that was really the biggest, like, cosmetic difference. So if I hear you right, there's going to be more than a cosmetic difference?
It will go from being just a kind of a different version of a Classic, to taking a step towards more like a Beast. In that direction. And the Stealth is the number one most popular unit that we build here at Storyteller. It's not even close. It makes up 50% of our total production here as a company. And so what we've gotten, we listen to people. We listen to people all the time. And so any kind of price increase, again, at all, especially on that Stealth mode, would push you. We would be stepping more towards a Beast. Now, there's a lot of stuff on the Beast that the Stealth won't have. You just you have to have variances with your models and stuff like that.
I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed.
No, I think everybody would be very, very happy with everything that's coming out.
Have you guys? I asked Brent this, but have you guys ever thought about making a Stealth Beast?
We get requests for that all the time.
Yeah.
And everybody loves the color of the Stealth. And so, what we like to do here at Storyteller is we like to listen, number one, to the community. And if they're requesting something and asking for it, and we can deliver it, and if we can do it, and we can do it at a super, uber high level, and then deliver it back to the community at a value price, then we'll look at doing that. At the same time, we have to continue to grow as a company with our now 4 different. It's the same floor plan, but 4 different trim levels that we have now over 2 different chassis. And so I will say this: we listen to a lot of folks all the time, and we're continuing to improve every single day as a company. There's a lot of things on the Beast mode that you just can't do when you're dealing with the numbers of Stealths that we push out in a year, because the beasting of that unit takes so long because of the suspension upgrade and stuff like that. So that's why another reason why the Beast is such a very cool limited run product on a yearly basis. But we get requests for that all the time.
Okay, that's cool. So I have some questions about the Ford chassis. The first one is again the supply chain. So what's happening is that we're seeing articles, day in and day out about the chip shortage, the logistics issue, the whole 9 yards. So what's the forecast in regards to the chassis for the Ford? Is it going to be as solid as a Sprinter, or are we kind of...
My sense around it is, and you never know, I mean, my crystal ball is what it is, but if you try to decipher the things that you hear from the manufacturer, the chip shortage, and also just from the news and everywhere we gather information from, the chip shortage should resolve maybe Q1 or Q2 of next year. We anticipate receiving transit chassis probably in Q4, of this year, so October, November, December, and then we'll start building the Mode LTs on that. So I think historically Ford has been incredibly good at delivering timely. It's a huge company with lots of resources, so our confidence is pretty high that they'll be able to do that once they sort of hit these initial speed bumps that we're in now.
Okay. And when can the first person expect to receive their LT?
That's a great question, Juan. That's a tremendous question. No, we what do you think? Q1 next year? I think that's a great projection date for us, and if we can get it out to the market sooner than that, then we will. But I think Q1 of next year, somewhere between January, February, March of next year, is when we can start delivering those realistically on a long range timeline.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll just say this about the Ford as well too. So we prototyped on the Ford, and we've always loved the Ford, and everybody that's a part of van life loves the Transit. There's been a lot of engineering that has gone on behind the scenes, where people here inside of these walls have worked tirelessly day in and day out to make sure that the Ford had the same standards as the Sprinter. And that's with our componentry that we put into the vehicle, like our Volta system, with the additional alternator in the Ford, like our Rixson fuel-fired furnace, because the Ford is a gas-burning unit. It's not a diesel-burning unit. And so there's been a lot of little tweaks and a lot of behind-the-scenes work that no one sees. So when we have a release of, hey, we're bringing the Ford Transit all-wheel drive chassis out on the Storyteller Mode LT, it is a huge event for us, because we know how much time and energy has been spent working on that project here. It's been 3 years.
So what I'm hearing you say is, from when you guys did the prototype with the Russos that they tested out the Ford version until when you guys decided to announce it this year, it's been
in March.
It took a decent time to be able to perfect that craft of what you guys want, right?
Well, what we consider, passable here from any third-party componentry is a failure rate of less than 3%. And so if your componentry goes into a chassis build out and it has a failure rate double or triple or quadruple, that's unacceptable for our Storyteller consumers. And so you have to perfect that. And it takes time. It takes energy. And all while doing all the stuff that you're normally doing anyways. Again, like I said before, we're just a little old Storyteller, all right? But I promise you this, every single van that we build here, when it leaves our facility, is about as perfect as any RV is ever going to be.
Okay. And so the gas furnace, the Ford will have a gas sipping furnace, so you won't have to use propane or some other external source?
No, it's exactly the same as every mode. It's going to have a Rixson fuel-fired, but there's a gasoline version and there's a diesel version of that, so this is the gas.
Can that handle high altitudes? I know gas typically does versus diesel at high altitudes, but, Yeah,
it has a altitude compensation in it, so there shouldn't be any problem around that.
So
it can now. Yeah.
10, 12, 14,000, well, I don't know about 14,000 feet, but about 10 should be good.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. And then kind of touched on it a little bit, but what was the main reason, what pushed you guys over the fence to actually start building on the Ford chassis? Was it just consumer demand? Was it because you started something and you back in the day and you want to finish it through, or?
I mean, it's all that, it's a great platform. The Transit is different than the Sprinter in a lot of ways. It is a different vehicle, made with different design parameters from the beginning. Mercedes does certain things and the Ford does certain things, and they're both pretty awesome. So there are certain consumers, and we've listened very, very carefully, who want gasoline. They want access to gasoline wherever they are, and they also want access to Ford's network of service centers. So Ford has some 4,000 dealers in the country. I think almost all of them service transit. So there's a Ford store on every corner in the country, so that gives people a lot of comfort.
Yeah. Why did you guys name it the LT? Does that stand for something?
It pays homage to the Model T Ford.
Okay.
So you could call it the Model T, but it's officially from us the Mode LT. And so, again, a lot of things that we do here is to show respect for where our community has been in the past. Like our retro stripes is to pay homage to where van life first started, Huntington Beach, California. And it pays homage to those vans back in the day. It also mirrors the sunset. It's not by accident, it's on purpose. So that name, Mode LT, is to pay homage. This is the first Ford that we're building. So what was the first Ford that Henry Ford ever made? The Model T. So Mode LT, right?
Can we look forward to like the Mode LT Stealth and Beast and put like the Quigley 4x4 on there? Have you guys thought that far ahead?
Those are great questions. And we'll have another announcement next July 4th with any new product that we have coming out. But right now, today, we have the 3 trim levels on the Sprinter, and we have the Mode LT. And so, again, we like to talk about things that are real and not in things we're doing today and things we can execute on, and not so much things that could possibly maybe happen in the future.
If someone wants to put that Quigley 4x4 on, would that void the warranty? I know it probably would for Ford, but what about
the
you
great
guys?
thing about Quigley is they're the only, and we went there to Pennsylvania at their headquarters, 2.5 years ago, Lee, and met with them. Tremendous people, tremendous folks. They have a tremendous product too. They are the only 4x4 upfitter for the Transit or Ford GMC that's actually, you can take it to the Ford and have your warranty done there at your Ford dealership via Quigley. And so they work seamlessly with Ford.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
good
if
to know.
folks want to do that, they can take it right to the factory. They would pay the same exact price that we would pay if we did it here as a manufacturer. So, they're getting a great value for it from Quigley.
I think most people, when they start messing with the all-wheel drive, I think they're going to be pretty.
Yeah.
They might be surprised how capable it is.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be for everybody, but I think for the 95 percentile or 90, I don't know what it is, it's going to be very, very adequate for the kinds of traveling they're doing.
Oh yeah, I agree. There's always that one dude that wants to go out there
Yeah.
and push it to the limits.
Right. I'm that dude, but not everybody is that dude.
Yeah. Let's talk about the headroom and the interior specs.
Oh, yeah. This is really cool.
Can you confirm or deny you get an inch taller, wider, and longer?
Yeah. So the one of the design parameters that the Ford people taught us was the vehicle was really designed to maximize the internal cargo space. So the wheels are pushed very far forward and out, and the rear wheels are back and kind of out, and so it really is more focused on interior space. So I don't have the exact specs versus the Sprinter right off the top of my head, but it's definitely taller and definitely wider. And you notice it when you're inside. I'm short, so I'm not maybe as quite as sensitive to it, but it's I don't want to say an exact number, but it's I would say noticeably larger on the inside.
You can see the difference just when your Dreamweaver bed is folded up, because you have that extra little gap between the bottom of the cabinets and the top of your bed system. And it's if you're 6'5", 6'6", you want to look at a Transit, and that's another motivating factor for us to bring that to market. And yeah, it is, from what we understand, an inch taller, inch longer, inch wider.
Can you tell me how you're utilizing that extra space other than the height, like width? Are you just making the cabinets longer, or
it's just
the bed
just
an inch
headroom?
longer?
The bed's the same.
Okay.
Well, the cushions are a little bit different, but the primary bed's going to be the same. It's a little bit wider, so the cushions you'll feel a little bit of difference. But again, I'm short, so I'm not
I feel you, Lee.
perfectly in tune with all that. But I can tell you when you stand in it, it feels very roomy.
Mm-hmm.
And the taller people definitely notice it.
Yeah.
I saw Andrew was standing in it the other day with his cap on, and he wasn't even close to touching the top.
No.
So it's pretty neat.
I get real lucky sometimes. My head will touch the top when I'm in the Sprinter, and I feel very tall. But yeah, in the Ford, it doesn't happen.
Okay.
And again, we have folks out there that are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". They want a storyteller, and we want to be able to deliver them one.
Okay. Can you confirm the ground clearance of the new Ford? Well, first of all, let me back up. What year Ford will it be?
It'll be the newest version.
The 2021 or 22?
So there'll be some 2021s, and then they'll transfer to 2022s, whatever Ford does.
Oh, okay.
But those chassis are the same. The
Okay.
Ford chassis, they're not. There's no changes between their model years. Was that what you were asking?
Yes, which led me into what would the ground clearance be?
About 9.5 inches of ground clearance on the low end, and about 11.5 on the tall end.
Okay, so it dips?
Well, you have to have. There's two different factors. I mean, you have your axles, and then you have the belly. You know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And so, but you're going to have a minimum. Like, let's compare it, right? So you're going to have, 10.5 inches of ground clearance to the back of the hitch on the Sprinter, and then 13.5 inches of ground clearance to like the belly where your running boards are. You
Okay.
know.
I will say this, that I know the towing capacity for the Ford is a little higher.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, it's in the specs that we sent out. I can't exactly remember, but it was might have been, I don't want to say the wrong number. I know on the Sprinter it's 5,000. I want to say it was 66,000 for towing, or 6,200, something like that. We'd have to go back and look it up,
Okay.
but it has more towing capacity.
More
So
horsepower.
that's a benefit to some people.
Oh, yeah.
More torque.
Definitely feels peppy off the line. I don't know if you've ever driven
Yeah.
the EcoBoost before, but it's a pretty peppy, and it drives, I would say, more. I don't know,
Like an SUV.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I drive Sprinters, they feel more like a super modern pickup truck. You know, that's kind of the feel. I mean, I don't know if that's exactly
Like an off-road vehicle almost. Yeah.
But I would say the Transit feels a little more like a nice SUV.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's why it sits lower to the ground.
Okay, yeah.
so
No,
getting in and out, it's a little easier just
Yeah.
because it's a little bit lower.
maybe I need the LT.
The cockpit is awesome. I mean, yeah.
You know a guy.
Yeah.
I know,
You
right?
better. I'll say this: since Sunday, we've sold over 50% of the units that we'll produce this year, or we've reserved
Yeah.
spots for customers for over 50% of the units.
Yeah, there's a strong market out there for the Ford, for sure.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
and-
people have been asking. Sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
no, that's
people
okay.
people have been asking for it, and that's why we're doing it. And they responded by placing orders for them. So we're thrilled about that, and we're just we're as anxious as they are to get going.
Yeah, very excited. Very excited.
I'm going to give you some questions from the community. I'll say the first names of who asked the question, but for privacy purposes, I'm going to leave their last name. But before I do, I have one of my...
Name names. Name names. No.
But before I do, I have one of my own questions.
Mm-hmm.
For the 2022 Sprinter chassis, can you say what the differences are? Not the RV portion, the Storyteller portion, but for the actual chassis?
Oh yeah, that's easy stuff. I don't think that's anything secret, right? LED headlights and XM radio.
So that comes standard with
That
everyone?
comes standard.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Is that going to alter the roof rack at all?
No.
No.
With the antenna?
No.
Okay, where's the antenna at?
It'll be moved.
We're moving it. We're in
okay.
2019 and 2020. The antenna was underneath the roof rack, and so you would have this intermittent service as you drove down the road, and you would think, "What is going on here?" Right? So that's why on our 2020 ones we did not have it on there because, and now this year coming back up, we've listened to the community. They want the XM radio. We're engineering around it and installing it properly from day one.
Cool. Sweet, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right, so the first question comes from Peggy. She asks, what caused you guys to reach out to Campers Inn as a dealership?
I know Peggy. Peggy, I know you. I know who this
Uh-oh.
is. No, I'm joking.
Hey, Peggy.
What up?
So,
Oh, sorry, let me finish the rest of the question. So she continues to ask, did you guys screen for customer service feedback, length of time / training of employees under their hire, willingness to send employees to the Storyteller headquarters to get trained on Storyteller, et cetera, et cetera?
So I'm a fourth generation RV dealer, and when we were setting up Storyteller for about 6 months, Jeffrey and Lee, they laugh about it all the time. They kind of kept me in a cage, and so for that 6 months, I was doing my due diligence. So as a as an former RV dealer, there's things that you look for at other RV dealerships that not every normal consumer sees. So I interviewed 569 motorized dealers across the country. Each one had 10 different categories. They got a score 1 through 10 for. And at the end of that, we pressed a button, and we had formulated a list of Elite 8 dealers across the country. Campers Inn is one of those Elite 8 dealers. They're the largest family-owned dealership in the country, which means you can walk into their dealership, look the ownership in the eyes, and talk with them. We don't deal with conglomerates. We don't deal with corporate dealerships. Campers Inn is a tremendous dealership, as all of our dealers are. And that's the great thing about any of our dealers across the country. And nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Sometimes people have bad days, but as a manufacturer, we support them, and we support our community. And if somebody gets sideways with one of our dealers or something like that, then we'll reach out to them and we'll make it right. But to say that they were vetted would have been an understatement.
Okay.
I'll say that.
How many stores does Campers Inn have?
Now they have 29 right now.
So that means
29 new service locations for us across the country. And we have 6 of their dealerships that we're actually going to stock.
And it kind of feels like, van life and this overlanding trend and movement is going more East Coast.
East Coast, yes.
So that opens up that whole part of the country for service and to buy a van. It snows a lot up there. So there's a lot of skiing and a lot of mountain biking, and it just seems like a natural progression.
And while I'll say this, one of the most heavily weighted categories on that out of all 10 was average tenure of employee at the dealership, because that tells you a lot about the culture of the leadership there. And if you have someone that's, hey, what's the average age of your employee? Oh, 2.5 years. That's not real good. What's the average age of your employee? Oh, 14 years. Wow, that really speaks to the culture that you have here. And what that means is what you're telling folks, you're doing, you're executing on.
Okay.
Right?
Those are good measurements of success, I would agree.
Yeah. It's not about sales. Sales was actually the least or it was the last thing that we considered was a number of sales. It's about the quality of the people at the dealership.
That's good to know. The next question comes from Tammy, and she asks,
Hey, Tammy.
Hey, Tammy.
Hey, Tammy.
she asks if the difference between the classic stealth, between the classic and the stealth for 2022, the confidential items, are they the same? So when you look at the spec sheets for a classic and a spec sheet for the stealth, are they?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Sorry, terrible answer, but yes.
No, that
right.
that makes sense, but
Right.
inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I hate to get too hung up on confidential stuff because it's not all that confidential. It's just
a
other
fun
things
way
that we're not done yet. But from a high level, all the vans are going to get a couple of small upgrades, and a couple of the upper trim levels are going to get a couple of additional upgrades.
Got it.
So, but again, none of those things, to me, if I was in the customer's shoes, none of those things would prevent me or dissuade me from making a decision on what I was doing anyways. Squint your eyes. It's going to be exactly what we're making now with just traditional year-over-year updates. Very normal automotive fit and finish and little feature updates. None of them are groundbreaking. None of them are going to be, I don't think anybody's going to be, wow, over the moon about any of them. And I don't think anybody's going to be like, oh, no. They are going to be exactly like what you would traditionally expect in model.
So you're not going to see in the Facebook forum, hey, who wants my slot for the 2022 stealth?
I'd be surprised, and if there was, I bet there's three or four others right behind them that would take that slot.
Oh yeah,
We did have one customer. I'll tell a funny story. We did have one customer last year that called around and left 10 deposits at 10 different dealerships and tried to sell those deposits.
Really?
Yes,
What?
yes.
Wow.
And he did it to 2. And I said, look,
Resold them?
Yeah, resold his deposit slots, which was crazy.
What?
And so I got in touch with him. I said, look, I understand what you're doing, and it's genius, but it's not something that we're going to allow to happen at Storyteller.
Yeah, holy cow.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah. No, yeah.
All right. Last question from Tammy. She asks, have you heard the rumor that Mercedes-Benz will switch to an all-wheel drive instead of a 4x4?
That is not a rumor. That is true.
That's very true.
When's that going to
And
happen?
that will be mid next year, July, August of 2022. That will happen.
Does that mean that the latter Storytellers coming out after that are going to be all-wheel drive?
That means that every Sprinter in the whole world was being made as a 4-wheel drive will transition into an all-wheel drive, and it appears to be a very, very capable gearbox, 9-speed, which is really cool, and it's coupled to a 4-cylinder engine that actually makes significantly more horsepower,
Yes.
significantly more torque, and is better on fuel mileage.
Yes.
So it's a very, it's actually pretty exciting for us. I think there's going to be some people well satisfied in that next generation. But
Are you going to be able to put the agile suspension on that?
yeah, that shouldn't affect the suspension in any way. But we haven't done it yet because we haven't seen it, so I don't want to speak out of turn. But we don't anticipate any big problems off of that.
Well, and then the other thing, you look at the all-wheel drive Transit. You're looking at like a 60-40 split between power to the rear, power to the front. And you look at the current 4x4 Sprinter, you're looking at like, 72 to 28 split right now from power to the rear, power to the front. And when they come out with the new model, it'll be closer towards that 60-40 split. So you have a more evenly displaced power to all four wheels, even on the new one. And let's be honest, the 4x4 Sprinter almost acts as an all-wheel drive unit right now today. It's just Mercedes-Benz calls it a 4x4 from the factory.
I think it's going to be kind of neat.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how that pans out. The next question comes from Rocky, and he asks...
Rocky.
He's
He's
never heard that before.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. He's rolling his eyes. My goodness. I'm sorry, Rocky. That was
we're just having some
incorrect.
But actually, I know who this is, and that's not his real name. I'm
Okay.
just going off screening.
All right,
So,
all right.
anyways, he asks about the rumors that the current 3-liter V6 engine won't be offered in the near future.
Yeah. Again, it's going to it's going from a.
He didn't specify the Ford or the Mercedes, so
Oh.
He's probably talking about the
Okay.
Mercedes. There would be
All right.
would be a guess, but yeah, that is correct. It's going to go to the 4-cylinder.
okay.
And did you just say that you were keeping Rocky's real identity confidential?
Yes. Yes, I am.
And that's just, there's nothing extremely confidential about what we're doing. It's just, it's a fun way for us to relay our message to our storytellers. We're very quirky here. We're very, let's keep Storyteller weird kind of vibe here, because that's what our community is about, is being different, being individuals, and being yourself.
Okay. So I'm going to move on to a different subject, which I categorize as just general questions from
Okay.
the community. The first one comes from Heather, and she asks, she would like to know if you guys are going to put an access port in the roof so it'd be easier to run cables into the van.
There's no plans for that currently.
Okay.
We do have an auxiliary power port on the roof currently,
Mm-hmm.
but right now we don't have any plans for additional penetrations into the roof.
Got it.
Well, and it's been highly debated and extremely discussed in depth here at Storyteller for doing that. But doing that presents its own individual set of problems that what we have decided here, that the cons outweigh the pros when it comes to that.
Got it. Next question comes from Tony, and he asks, will the Murphy bed still require supporting posts? He feels that if you cut the posts, it would be able to give a continuous space for the garage area.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great comment. But
Yeah.
the current and existing beds will be the same.
Yes.
Okay, and then this is my question, just so you know.
Wah, wah, wah. What you got? Let's have it.
Wah, wah, wah.
Jeffrey, in his letter, the official letter that was released on July 4th, said, P.S., you guys are going global. What does that mean? Why would he put that little tidbit out there?
Because it's fun, and because Jeffrey's awesome at Easter eggs and other things that will reveal themselves in the future. And
Are you guys opening your vans up in the European market?
well, can't not speak to any current or future plans.
So if I travel to Europe like I want to,
Yeah.
after things calm down, I can sell my van and get the exact same one
Only
overseas?
if you bring me and we figure out a way to get it over there.
Me too. I have to be there as well.
But that was just
Wait, I'm heading up the European branch? Is that what just happened?
You're hired.
God, how much fun would that be? That would be so awesome. Well, because like it's really hard to park in Europe. You know, everybody's been to Europe. Everything's really little there, and our vans are, from a high level, they're pretty little. You know, there'd be so many places you could go in Europe and travel so much more freely, just like you can here. I mean, that's what I try to explain to people about the vans in general, is that they are just freedom machines. I've been to Europe a lot, and it's hard to get around. It's hard to park. It's hard to find fuel. It's hard to get a hotel. So, like, man, that would be a dream come true. Can you imagine? My trip, this would be my trip. I would start in Milan. This is like my dream trip. Start in Milan, go over the Alps, down
Nice.
towards Ireland, get on their steam packet, which is their ferry, over to the Isle of Man.
Oh, yeah.
Go watch the races at the Isle of Man, camp there, which would be unbelievable, and then come back and go over the Alps again. That's my European dream trip. And in a van, I mean,
We'll go together.
let's go.
We'll go together.
Let's do this.
Take our
You want to
families.
go?
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
The three of us.
And I would say, when you talk about going global, it's about going everywhere.
I'm going to snuggle him on this trip, by the way. If there's going to be snuggling, I'm sorry.
It's got to be in a transit,
Right.
Right.
I won't get in trouble with my wife for snuggling him.
It's when you say global, it's about exploring, and it's about being able to explore not just anywhere in the world, but anywhere here in the U.S. And so it's about where are you going to that's off the beaten trail that you can't maybe get to today. So when we say we're going global, we want you to be able to explore those places.
That doesn't help at all.
Yeah. Here's the thing. The thing from a high level is we love the people we serve.
Yes.
We love you. We love all the people that are in our community. Maybe they don't have one of our vehicles yet, but it's aspirational, and they're maybe going to get one day. I've been in a few different industries, and I just got to say that, like, the community and the people we're interacting with, they're just the best people.
The
They're
best.
outdoorsy, and they're adventurous, and they're all marching to their own drummer, which is what I like the most, just people being unique and choosing a path of life versus just floating along with what everybody else is doing, right? And that's so meaningful to me, because that's the kind of guy I am, and that's the kind that just about everybody here is just a little bit of a quirky and unique take on how they want to live their lives, how they want to travel, who they want to be with, when they want to go. So it's this incredibly freedom-loving and unique and usually very successful because of that uniqueness type of crowd that we're serving. So that's what puts wind in our sails here. That's why we do this stuff. So yes, we can get bogged down in this detail or this spec or this feature set and all that, but like, what's it really about? Getting in a cool vehicle, hitting the road. Nobody's going to tell you when you've got to stop, where you got to stop.
Are you guys building your own airplane so we can go global? Is that what's happening?
Let's do it. Airplanes next.
All right, I'll stop. I get the picture, but
Yeah. That one will
We're just going
reveal
to put
itself.
wings on the side of the van, right?
Yeah, that one
well,
will
I am working on gravitational propulsion, so
Well,
there you go.
You may have
What
a
did you
spot.
just say? No, I'm joking.
But all right. So this is actually the next question is a concern, and I'll just say I'm asking this question, and that is with the growth of Storyteller, which has been such an amazing roller coaster for everyone, mostly highs. The one big concern that I have is when you guys grow so large and you have 500 vans, and let's just say you got double that. How are you going to support, like, what are the mechanisms in place to be able to support the growing number of vans out on the road?
Well,
Our dealer network.
Well, that's one, but sorry to interrupt, but the real mechanism is that we care.
Right.
We give a crap about what we're doing, and we care about the people that we're serving. So that's the only mechanism that you need, which is the desire to make things right when they go wrong.
Yeah.
And we'll never do anything but that.
Well, let me rephrase it and put it in a different frame. So the original OGs, the 2019, early 2020s, we are accustomed to Dan the Man. And I know that with the growing amount of vans and whatnot, he's not going to be able to give that one-on-one, you know, the things like, hey, I'm in Denver, where are you? Why don't you come on over and I'll fix it kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's probably going to stop, right? For the most part. Because you can't do that with 5 to 1,000, 1,500 vans. I mean, anybody with common sense understands that. But I understand that you're saying that you guys care, but the people that we go, like the dealerships, the dealership network, like some of us don't feel that. So I'm kind of curious, like how from the high level that's going to be able to get trickled down and actually seen and felt at the lowest level.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome question, and we don't struggle with that question because we know behind the scenes that we're the kind of people that just make things right when they go wrong, because things will go wrong. So where people have a lot of visibility to Dan, and Dan is awesome, and he lives in Denver, and he has access, and you can, you know, he's very hands-on, and we very intentionally set it up that way, so he would be a little bit removed from us. Not just physically, but also being able to kind of, from a bird's eye view, kind of zoomed out, see the kinds of calls we're getting, not get necessarily sucked into the day-to-day stuff here, but to really be high level zoomed out on what kinds of calls are coming in and where we need to focus resources and where there's areas for improvement and that kind of stuff. But where you may know just Dan, you may not also know that we have Jeremy and Angie and Jonathan and Adam and Ryan. So there's quite a bit more behind Dan, and as he continues to zoom out a little more, we'll backfill more with more people. It just comes back to what we said before, like we just care and we're going to take care of everybody. That's what we cut our teeth doing, and that's what we'll always do.
So what's your advice if someone goes to a dealership that sells Storyteller and they're not getting the service that they think they should get? Like, because let's be honest, like not all RV dealerships, especially the service side, is, you know, grade A.
And especially now, right? Because the incredible demand where sometimes it's like, hey,
everyone's burnt out and people are backlogged X amount of months. I mean, it's an insane time. What's your advice to them if they're not getting the service that...
Pick up the phone and call us.
Yeah, well, first of all, they should pick up the phone and call us
first anyways.
Actually go on our website, which is the best way to interact with us, is to simply create a case on our website under Owner Resources, create a case that immediately goes to our team, and we immediately start working on that problem. So where a lot of people will head, you know, and a lot of manufacturers expect people just to go to the dealer and get the, you know, what you were talking about, which is just get in line. I've got 100 in front of you. We always encourage everybody call us first, which is sounds like a small difference, but it's a completely different way of doing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you had a Mercedes Sprinter or something like that, or a Ford truck or whatever you had, generally you just be expected to go to the dealer and get in the line like everybody else, the way the automotive industry works. We flip that on its head altogether, and you're not expected to just show up at the dealership and hope for the best. We encourage and we invite everybody to create a case on our website, and we'll start working it here, whether or not that's making sure that is the closest dealer. If we need to get involved and call the dealer and say, hey, we really need to pull in a favor on this. This is a Storyteller customer, and this person's on a trip, and what do we have to do to help make this right? Some dealers have mobile technicians that can come to customers. Not always. Not all dealers have that. That's not always called for. But what I'm telling you is that the people who know, and when they call us, we'll help solve problems. Maybe it's not that day or the next day, but I think it's pretty efficient because we sort of white glove and we walk everyone through all the way to success. That's our goal. We're not always perfect. The dealers aren't always perfect, but that is what we do, and that's what Dan set up originally and what has been transferred down to our whole other team now, which is continuing to grow. So where you may not talk to Dan, but you may want to talk to one of our other team members, they'll help solve the problems, and that's kind of the difference.
Yeah.
And I would also second that, you know, what if I told you our dealers were working just as feverishly as they could and are working at 1,000 miles an hour to solve your problems? We as a manufacturer support those RV dealers in a different way than they've ever been supported before. I know this from firsthand experience myself. We take what is normally a 6 to 12 week process, and we do our very best to try to condense it to 6 to 12 hours. We're not always successful at it, but normally it takes like 6 to 12 weeks to get a warranty approval. When you call us, we know what's going on pretty much about 60% of the time on the telephone. We can go ahead and say, hey, we can take care of that for you. We just need you to reach out to the dealer because we'd like for you to schedule your appointment. That way you know your time. Yeah, they have a line. You have to get in line. We all have to get in line and wait to get service. And so if somebody's having a horrible experience somewhere and they've already talked to us, pick up the phone and call us again. We'll take care of you.
Okay. And the one thing I will add to that, most people are a member of the Facebook group, but you also have the entire community. You know, you set up that Facebook group, and it is ran by you guys. It's not ran by...
Well, we don't run it. I mean, it's just there. It's not like
you guys set it up and, but the point is that there's an entire community out there. So...
Well, let me comment on that because it's a very interesting phenomenon around the Facebook group, and it's awesome. And so many people have created connections and traveled together and met up. And I mean, for all the beauty of it and all the functionality of it, it also has another side, which is many times people we find will go to Facebook to make a complaint before they've ever called us. So sometimes that's like, hey, is there anybody that's seen this before? Mm-hmm. And maybe somebody has a quick little fix. And other times they haven't. But we always find, and I would always encourage people, if they're having some kind of a unique one-off thing, call us first or at least get that going because then we can actually help. We don't, and I know I don't monitor the Facebook page. I know Dan doesn't monitor the Facebook page. He is generally actually working cases and solving problems for people that have contacted us the normal way. So generally, Facebook complaint is maybe not the fastest way to get the problem actually resolved. Is somebody else can say, oh, I've already fixed that one. That happened to me. And here's what you do. That's the beauty of it. But the fastest way to actually get your van fixed is to reach out to us, and then we will start working on that problem to actually resolve it. If there's a part that needs to go out, it's not going to go out because somebody put something on Facebook. Mm-hmm. It's going to go out because they contacted us, and a case gets created in our system, and then we put the part in a box, and we help them find a dealer. That's the real mechanism to actually resolve it. If it's just informational, that's great, but I always encourage people, go to our website, create a case, and a bunch of people here immediately get those emails. We see all that stuff, and we're like hyper focused on, okay, well, that's interesting. Hadn't seen that one, but why would that have happened? All right, how do we quickly get this vehicle going again so our friends can go out and have fun?
Yeah. Well, I think that's really reassuring on the consumer side, especially as you guys grow, that is still a very high priority for you guys. And just being around in the office the last couple of days, like I see how you guys operate, and you guys really operate as a family.
Yeah.
And as long as you
keep that culture, but be able to expand that family, I think you guys are still, going down the road of success. And there's going to be a lot more storyteller groupies.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, it's a very scalable thing, right? The scalability is just find more people that actually care.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure they're aligned with us to understand our culture, and it's kind of a no questions asked. Just fix it.
Yeah.
And not everything's perfect. And sometimes, all kinds of things can happen. We've had everything from people wrecking their vehicles and crashing them and trying to work through that fractaling complications of fixing those vehicles, all the way to the smallest little screw has backed out, and anything in between. It's all real, and we want to fix all that stuff because we want everybody to be satisfied and happy and telling their friends. And we take great pride in building the vehicles. You haven't been here when they were building this week, because the level of heartfelt dedication to building awesomeness is it's real. Mm. The people back there, they're looking over each other. Hey, there are 2 or 3 guys working in a van, and you'll see a guy lean over and say, "Hey, what's that right there?" Because they don't want, they want their name on something that's awesome.
Right.
There's all checklists. We make them sign their names, and there's just a lot of buy-in, and then there's a lot of real sincere care made by the people. Again, is every vehicle perfect at all times? No. Are any? No. Will we make it right? Yes.
That's good to know.
One of the things I love about our Facebook group is when someone does post something, the whole community comes out and helps them. Like Charlotte Freeman, when she took delivery of her unit, she had just just random questions, and the whole community there came out and helped her every single time. And like Paul Pritz, I love seeing all the mods that he's done. It's incredible, and that's my favorite thing about the Facebook page. And there's even anything that comes out that anybody could have to say negative on that Facebook page is still a positive for us, because we take it and we learn from it and we grow from it as a company, and we're appreciative of it as well too. And I think that's really the key here for Storyteller is the community, and it starts in these walls with the culture that we have here, and then it kind of permeates throughout our van, and then you fall in love with our brand, and you go to a dealer and you fall in love with the buying experience there at that dealership, and then you go out and you have fun, and anything goes wrong, you get in touch with us. You don't have to call the dealer, you call us. And so it should be a really wonderful process and a wonderful experience too, when you're out in your Storyteller exploring the country.
Yeah. So I know time is a little bit of the essence, but I want to be able to just go ahead and give you guys the last moment to be able to talk about anything that you guys want to talk about in regards to whatever you guys want to say.
I'll say this. We're going to have a little bit over 50 dealer locations this next year. So that's over 50 service points. I think it's 53 or 54 total. Campers Inn continues to add locations. We're also bringing on a dealer that won't be in sales yet. Sprinter Vans is Warner Vans of Utah, just outside of Salt Lake City, that will be able to do service there, and they're going to offer rentals. They're going to have a couple of our sales demos that aren't new units. They're taking them from us at the end of the year, and they'll be able to do rentals there in the state of Utah, but they'll also be able to do service. And so, you look at all of our dealerships across the country, we want folks to feel like they can reach out to those dealers at any time and have extreme confidence that they're going to be taken care of. If for any reason they have any experience other than that, we want them to reach out to us. I mean, I don't mind if people call me personally on my cell phone. I think on Christmas Day I talked to somebody for 2.5 hours on the telephone about a storyteller, and so this is our life. We live our life. My favorite thing is being able to go out on the road and visit our dealers and go to our van life events and be in a van. And then I come back home and I have to get back in my truck, and I get really depressed because I'm no longer in my van, Lee?
I would say the overwhelming feeling that I have coming here to work every day and getting to interact with awesome people like you is just gratitude.
Yeah.
Right? Being able to do this because it's awesome, and the vehicles are awesome, and the people are awesome, and there's just so much of a good vibe and a good, we're not making widgets. We're making things that literally change people's lives. I know camping as a kid with my parents, that's what I remember from when I was growing up, was camping trips.
Yeah.
And I've been able to take these vehicles with my kids, and they'll never forget those trips. And like just the real deep down experiences that people are having, and if we have some little way to be a little part of that, to create the vehicle that becomes the vehicle for their dreams and memories and all that stuff, that's just like, what else would we want to be doing? That's fantastic. So a gratitude, and we just feel so lucky to be able to serve people the way we do. And also for us to be able to shepherd that growing culture as this company does grow, because your comments are exactly right. How do you maintain the magic as you get bigger? And we spend a lot of very intentional thought and very methodical onboarding of people and making sure we have the right people to continue to grow that as we get bigger. I mean, you're spot on with your comments there. None of that is lost on us, because anybody can do something good a few times. Generally, there's one-hit wonders everywhere. We're trying to set this up to be as built for the future as possible. So that's our goal and our mission. And I think the customers generally understand that we're actual human beings on this side. And when things go awesome, we're going to cheer them on. And when they have a little glitch, we're going to solve it. And it just comes around trust, and hopefully some of the comments or people, wondering about this feature set or that feature set, a lot of it hopefully will go back to just trust. And I think we have a pretty good record so far of delivering on what we've said. And hopefully, if people will have patience and have trust with us as time goes by, they'll be like, all right, we get it now.
Yeah.
So I think you'll see a lot of that.
All right. What was interesting is that I asked you that last question, but you guys both, first thing you guys talked about was about the community. And, I end every podcast with, what does it mean to you to be part of the STO Nation community? Well, community, you just proven that the community is what drives you. And I think that's a spectacular thing to the point where I don't even need to ask that last question. You know what I mean?
Well,
so
I would say this. I have a question for you. You talk with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you see that we can be doing to improve ourselves?
Give us a $10,000 check upon delivery.
We just have to mark them up by $10,000.
Yeah, right.
We'll have a deal.
No, that's a good question. I think in regards to the theme of this particular episode, I think, I'm just being very candid here. I think, and someone could argue that it's more one person's fault or another, but that really doesn't matter. But I think I don't think the message came down when July 4th announcement came down, that the message was, hey, we're going to release this and this, but the actual 2022 features aren't going to be released until later in September. Mm-hmm. I don't think that last part of it got down very well to the user. Mm-hmm. So in regards to the theme, I would say, since you asked,
do better than that.
Well, yeah, I mean, just it's just the reason why Jeffrey had to go in and write all that stuff was because everyone expected to know what the new 2022 feature was, instead of hey, we're gonna announce some stuff, but the actual features themselves. And I can kind of see on your side of the house in regards that you wouldn't want to do that, because then it would give away the LT, it would give away some other stuff, right? And so it's a very delicate balance. But I think after people listen to this podcast and reading Jeffrey's posts and listening to, your guys' words out of your own mouths, I think that will definitely help the entire community. But, other than that, I don't know. You guys are great. I mean, obviously, if you weren't, I wouldn't be here doing STO Nation,
which is awesome.
Sucking up the costs out of my own pocket every month. You know what I mean? So I think it's great. I think I'm super excited. I'm still super pumped to continue STO Nation, to the point where I'm still trying to move on to a different chapter in my life and still keep it going, because as soon as STO Nation is dissolved, I'm just going to cry myself to bed every single night for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? But no.
We're all friends, and we're grateful for you for what you're doing and helping us tell the story. And maybe
thank you.
And we look forward to doing a lot more of it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. I know you guys are ultra busy, but I got a flight to catch. So unless you want me to stay here longer, I gotta go.
You're welcome to stay as long as you want.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll be back.
Good.
I want to get that bumper that Brent designed. So
okay,
good.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right.
Thanks for coming on to STO Nation.
All right. See ya.
STO Nation is a production of Park Media. The executive producer is Younghwa Kim. The audio engineer is
Stephen Grasso.
The marketing director is
Guillaume Golson.
The original music and artist is done by
Jason Walsmith.
The sound designer is
Lorenzo Interiano.
And the webmaster is
Peng Shi.
Without any of these people, this podcast couldn't happen, so a big, huge thank you. And a big, huge thank you to you, the listener. If you like this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a 5-star review. This is Younghwa with STO Nation, and I can't wait to share the road with you.